Hello, Joe Neville here with some supplementary information for my last video about Docker, Openvswitch, VXLAN and Aruba AOSCX. Why am I recording this video? Well, let's get straight to the point. There's a problem. So the last video is already out of date. Unfortunately, and it's entirely my fault, I take responsibility. I'm not going to redo the last video. I'll just explain how to fix it here, and in the description of the last video I'll put an update, and I will update the blog. That is the problem with video. You can't edit it once it's live. Anyway, so let's just jump straight into what is the problem. Well, the Debian image has rolled from 10.10 to 11, so it's a major change. I'll show you why this has come about and why this is my fault, essentially. Okay, so when I did the build of the container, I ran docker run. This is the command that I used. Let's just call it test1. And I put in Debian. So I was using the most quick and dirty. So there's no tag there for the image. And what that does is that pulls down the latest image in the Debian repository. So entering this command is the same as entering this command, essentially. But the problem is that tag, by its very nature, you know, it's in the name, that is the latest image, so is subject to change and, you know, unfortunately, subject to a major change, go into a new major revision, which has then caused this problem. And there are better ways around it. I'll show you this as well. So here's the images that I have. And this image here is the one that I was using for the video. So if we use that, let's do a docker run di, I'll call it, yeah, so test1. And you just put the image ID in. I believe that should work. Okay, so that's built a container for us called test1. Now, if we look at the version in test1, and you can do that with, I've been doing a bit of research around this, version, you'll see it's 10.10. Now, if you go for the Debian latest, so this is the latest one, I pulled down, and this is how I found the problem, because I pulled down a new image under the latest tag. So we go Debian, call it test2. If I create a container with that image, and we check the version, you can see that it's been upgraded from Debian 10.10 to 11. Now, what is the issue then? Why is this breaking my last video? Well, it's pretty fundamental. So with 11, there's no IP command at all. So that comes from the package iproot2. iproot2 has been removed in the upgrade from 10.10 to 10.11, so I can show you. Oh, and also ping. So ping is not in there either. You know, pretty fundamental for what we're doing. So there's no ping. I'll just prove to you that this is. If you go, this was 10.10. Yep, that's in there. And IPN there. Okay, so we do have that in the old image. How to fix this then? Well, the most undocker-like way of fixing this is to upgrade your existing container. You really shouldn't do this. That's kind of a waste of time of doing this. And the whole point of containers is they are supposed to be ephemeral. You're not just supposed to have like one container that you reuse and reuse. But at least this does prove the point of what's missing. So I will show you that. It was test2 that was built with the latest image, so 11. So this doesn't have these libraries. And it's an apt-get update. We've run an update on our container. And then we can do an install of, so iproot2 and ping. I looked this up. iputils-ping will give us a ping tool. Is that going to work? If it goes. Okay, that looks like it's installed. And that means that if we then run a ping, see, that works. And we can have a look at the wrong command. There we are. Okay. And that was version 11. There you see. But that's a really inefficient way of fixing this. You don't want to treat your containers like your networking devices. You just want them to be built with the tools that they need. And that's what Docker is all about, making them, as I said, as ephemeral as possible. Okay, let's look at better approaches to solving this that nip the problem in the bud so that we don't have it in the first place. Well, one of the things that we can do is to use an image that does have these tools already installed. And as we know, 10.10 does have them. Now, how you would download that image, or if you wanted to check these tags, this is where I looked. You can look up any image that's up on the Docker Hub, just doing a search on hub.docker.com. And here's Debian, and you'll have the tags. As you can see, you've got the supported tags here, and there it shows latest against 11, which is what we've seen. And the one I was using was 10.10. Now, 10.10 being a tag, so you can actually run the command. So if you wanted to do it still quick and dirty, you can run the command, I call this one deb10, and then enter in that tag. So Debian : 10.10. That's being downloaded now. If we do a docker exec command in deb10, of course there's ping, and there's our IP command. Okay, but what if you said that you wanted to use the latest and greatest Debian? So you had a look on Docker Hub and you thought, right, I want to use 11 and I'm going to install the packages that I require. So Docker's got all of this tooling to allow you to do that, essentially to provision an image which you can use to build your containers with the base image and the additional packages installed to that. It's like the install that I did earlier, but you do it at the image build stage. And the way that we do this is with a dockerfile. So just on this directory here, I'm going to create a dockerfile. There we are. Okay. And in there, we put the image that we want to use. So Debian, and the tag is 11.0. I got that from Docker Hub, checking the tags. And we put the commands that we want to run. It's apt-get update and apt-get install. And it's those packages, iproot2 and the iputils -ping. Let's have a look at that. Okay, looks fine. And now we run a Docker build to grab this image. If you don't have it locally, it will download the image, run the commands against it, and that will create the tailored image that you can create your Docker containers from. So it's Docker build -t. I'm going to call it my demo. This will be the repo, and the image deb11.0. Fine. And then we finish with a point, which means that if you run this command in the directory with the Docker file, it will run that local Docker file. So let us run that. Off it goes. You can see it's running step 1 to pull down the image. Step 2 doing this install that we've already set up. Okay, now if we have a look at our Docker images. Okay, we should have, yeah, there we go. So this is my image that I've created. The repo's my demo, and it's got the tag of deb11.0. And that means if I create a container, call it deb11, my demo deb, there we are. I'll run that, okay. Now we have a look at this container. I'll run that version command first. You can see it's 11. Good. That's what we wanted. But it also has ping. And it has IP address. Because the image that we're using to build these containers has the install, it has the update, and then it has the install of IP root 2 and IP utils -ping. But a third way to fix it, and this is probably the simplest way, and you could have avoided looking at this video entirely, is to just use a different image, which is probably what I should have done in the first place. And that is using the Alpine image, which is a really small Linux image, which is very popular with Docker because it's so small. And that does have a ping tool and IP root 2 in the latest image I found. So if we run this against, what is it, Alp1 I've called it, you do have ping. And we've got IP address that we need for this networking-based demo. And finally, to recap then, the 3 ways to solve this that I've shown you is to use, and it's all based upon the image that you're using to build your container, of course. You can either use the 10.10 that does have ping and IP root 2. You can use a Dockerfile to create your own tailored image, in this case using 11 and then doing the install. That's fun as well. You know, you get to use a bit of Docker, a bit more, learning a bit more about it and getting a feel for why Docker and containers are so popular. And then finally, you can just use Alpine. So I started off with a bit of a VXLAN Openvswitch demo, and I've had to learn a lot more about Docker to solve this problem, but it's been really fun. It's been really useful. It's kind of learning in the open, so I hope you found that useful. I should do like a basic Docker video, I guess, a tutorial thing. But for now, that just leaves me to say my name is Joe Neville. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.